An ideas report named the State of Democracy in the Americas 2021 showed that half of Latin American countries have suffered a pretty significant deterioration on their democracies during the COVID pandemic. The report essentially points out that Colombia, Uruguay, Chile, Brazil, Barbados, El Salvador, Bolivia, Costa Rica, and Guatemala have suffered a pretty significant democracy erosion. These institution ideas also point out on its report that this is essentially the worst democracy crisis in Latin America in 20 years. Of course, this is a pretty bold statement from this institution, because we need to remember that since the beginning of the 21st century, on the 21st century, Latin America has been experiencing a lot of populist, demagogic, and authoritarian governments all across the region. We're talking about the government of former Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez. We're talking about the governments of Néstor and Cristina Kirchner in Argentina. We're talking about the governments of Lula da Silva and Dilma Rousseff in Brazil. We're talking about the government of Rafael Correa in Ecuador. And we're talking about one of the most populist presidents over the last 20 years in Latin America. We're talking about, for example, the case of Honduras with Manuel Zelaya. We're talking about the case of Cuba with the Castro regime and the current regime of Miguel Díaz-Canel. We're talking about the horrible situation that is experiencing Nicaragua with the socialist tyranny of Daniel Ortega. So the fact that this institution believes that this is the worst sign of democracy in Latin America over the last 20 years is a pretty bold statement in every single way. So the report also points out that the main reason behind this reality are institutional legitimacy and, of course, the social unrest that has been created not only by the COVID pandemic, but also by poverty and inequality, which are two of the main flaws, the main spears that Latin America has been having to deal with over the last few decades: poverty and inequality. And of course, if we combine the COVID pandemic with these two elements, we're talking about a bomb, basically. A bomb that was already reflected in widespread protests in different countries across the region. The biggest examples are essentially Chile and Colombia. We saw recently a massive protest on these two South American nations, which many believe will inevitably end with a pretty significant change in terms of politics. Because right now in Chile, we have a presidential election between left-wing candidate Gabriel Boric and right-wing candidate José Antonio Caz. And in Colombia, we're talking about the possible rise of left-wing extremist Gustavo Petro. Of course, the worst thing about this report is that it points out that everything will get worse in Latin America, because the report points out that the problem that have created this democracy erosion in the region will not only continue, but will also get worse. We're going to see what is going to happen over the next few months and, of course, over the next few years. And we'll be here on Newsweek to report everything about this significant situation in Latin America. Reporting from Medellín, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.